Now, Georgia's opposition is trying to draw attention to the growing number of political prisoners in the country. In particular, it's calling for the release of Vladimir Vakhania, who was arrested a year ago for possessing weapons. His supporters insist the charges are trumped up.
Georgian demonstrators in Moscow doing something they feel they can't do in their own country. They're demanding the freedom of a man they believe is being held in a Georgian prison on trumped-up charges. Dr. Vladimir Vakhania has been in custody for more than a year, but his supporters say his only crime was asking for a cassette tape from a journalist, which she had used to interview him.
Afterwards, more than 200 commandos staged a search in his house just to find that tiny cassette. And you know what they found? Naturally, they found weapons. AK-47s and hand grenades. My brother is a doctor of sciences and a professor. He's written more than 12 books, and all of a sudden he grabs hold of arms that, moreover, he keeps under his mattress. Unfortunately, Georgia meets out these kinds of absurd and false accusations quite often.
Tamuri has no doubt the weapons were planted. He believes the authorities want his brother because he's a popular politician. Vakhania was arrested while trying to fly to Moscow from Tbilisi and had his Russian passport confiscated. Lawyers say they're trying to prove the accusations against him are false, but they're not confident they'll get a fair trial.
There's no question that the evidence was fabricated, which is why I believe there'll be pressure from the prosecutor, and most probably Vakhania will be charged. He was accused on the 11th of March. This was a day he was supposed to officially declare his political party, and that's why the government was in a rush to stop him. But because they were in a rush, they made a lot of stupid mistakes. If he'd been a politician, it would be a good case of political oppression.
But human rights activists say there are already dozens of political prisoners in Georgia today. One of those activists says Vakhania's case is all too common.
There's new Georgian legislation that introduces some limitations on freedom of speech and expression. This makes it more difficult to speak out against the government. People are being persecuted for their political viewpoints and their social and public opinions. Even their relatives are being targeted.
But Vakhania's relatives refuse to keep quiet. They've taken their protest to the international stage and want people in the US and Europe to know about it. Vakhania's son has written an open letter published on the front pages of the Georgian Times to the President of Switzerland. In it, he asks that the international community become more involved in a case that has all the markings of government interference.
It's regrettable, but these things are happening pretty often in Georgia today. Democracy, after all, is not about haranguing TV audiences in the US about being a democratic country. Democracy is about people living freely, being able to speak their mind, being able to air their political views. Regrettably, Georgia can't boast anything of this kind.
But what it can boast is a population which refuses to be silenced when it believes the rule of law is being ignored. Paul Islia, RT, Tbilisi.